my pleasure to welcome everybody to the Carriage Works and the Rebuilding Society crowdfunding event, Roadshow. I know we're going to have an interesting day coming up because we've got Dan talk and we've got Viv. She's always interesting. Oh, you tell a good story, Dan.
I'm not interested.
We've got Lee and we've got Julian talking about different aspects of crowdfunding. Then after the break, we're going to have a sort of panel session which will equally be interesting. I run the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses programme out of Leeds University that some of you may have heard of, and we've got about 200 people who've been through the programme now. Some of you are in the audience, and one of the things that we've learnt from people who've been on the programme, business owners, entrepreneurs, is some of the difficulties they've had in getting investment. So something like the Rebuilding Society and crowdfunding is a real alternative type of investment that people might be able to take advantage of and explore. And so I'm very pleased that we've got a day like today where we can run through all the issues. But Leeds University Business School is, as well as doing all wonderful stuff like the Goldman Sachs programme, is also a research institution. So what I thought I'd do was to look at some of the facts and figures and just give you a sort of heads up on the sort of size of the market and the issues around crowdfunding. And I've come across a couple of reports published by Nesta. They're a sort of charity whose mission is to sort of bring new ideas and to life, and they've been researching crowdfunding for the last 2 or 3 years now, and they've published a couple of really interesting reports. The first one in 2012, this green one. It's called Venture Crowdfunding Equity Investment, and there's some really interesting stuff in there. And some of the things that came out of that report are that crowdfunding has the real potential to be a complementary source of risk capital to, compared with traditional providers in the market. But they picked up a few challenges that people perhaps need to think about and address. One of those was multiple motives. If you're managing as an investor or a lender, managing co-investment between various investors is very difficult. Some of the processes they suggested were very tricky as well. So thought needs to be, how do you get all the information that you've got about your pitch perhaps available to the big wide world? And getting the right crowd funding you is another of the challenges. Attracting high calibre businesses and investors onto these platforms. And I think some of these things we'll perhaps talk about and discuss today. But back to the sort of size of the market. In December, Nesta published this report, The Rise of Future Finance. And there's some really fascinating figures in here illustrating the size of the market, which is truly astonishing. In their report, they've shown that between 2012 and 2013, the market for the alternative finance market has grown by 91%, from 492 million in the UK to 939 million. So that's huge. It's contributed 1.7 billion of personal, business and charitable financing to the UK economy, the alternative crowdfunding sort of market. Peer-to-peer and charitable fundraising, donation-based crowdfunding, represents the largest segment of this alternative market. Peer-to-peer lending took in 287 million in 2013, with peer-to-business lending a further 193 million. So they're clearly really impressive figures, and they foresee that collectively the UK alternative finance market will provide £463 million worth of early stage growth and working capital to over 5,000 startups in the UK. That's what's happened over the last few years. And based on those growth rates over the last couple of years, they predict that by this year, 2014, there'll be £1.6 billion worth of alternative finance in the market this year. That's an astonishing amount of money. And out of that 1.6 billion, approximately half of that, 840 million, will go to business finance for startups and SMEs. So that's the size of the market we're looking at, and it's growing enormously. And I don't really want to say much more, and to just give you a sense of the size of the market that people like Downley's Rebuilding Society are entering. So I'll stop now. Welcome you all to an interesting day. I'm sure it'll be stimulating. I'm sure we'll have some good discussions and some good questions. And Dan, over to you.